Welcome to the CF Zoom with Mr. Christopher Hughes, who we invited on. We were looking at different topics that people have asked about and things going on with business. And we looked at as CFs, a lot of you guys, there's different, I don't know, phases in business, for lack of a better word. Sometimes you're just starting, right? And you're looking to get it off the ground. And then there's also this phase of, okay, I now have had some classes. How do I upscale and expand and go from 3 people in my foundation to 15 to 30 to, and then Mr. Christopher, who better to come on and be our guest and chat with us a bit about, expanding, growing, being you, having your voice in the world, etc. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's such a gift and an honor. I love the area of business and this area in particular. And there are a million different directions that we could go with this topic. So I'm pretty good at watching the chat while we do these. And obviously this is Access Consciousness. So ask away if you have questions. Either put your hand up or type them in the chat, because I can show you what I have done and the tools that I have used to upscale and expand things in a lot of different businesses, but everyone's situation is different. The thing I probably want to talk about first, and the most valuable tool that I can really give you, is really asking what your point of view is about your business that's creating the reality you have now. We know this as a fundamental from Access, and the fundamentals to me are the most dynamic, powerful, and useful tools. A question and having a look at what your point of view is, because the universe is a kind, generous, and benevolent place that will gift to you exactly what you're asking for and manifest as your point of view. So really, truly, let's ask ourselves all now, what is your point of view about your business, creating it as it is now? Some of you have this, okay, so everything that is times a godzillion, and everywhere you're not willing to be totally honest about what your point of view is, let's destroy and uncreate all that. All the PRs, all the NORs, and all the NOR slimes attached to that. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Some of you are just starting out, and some of you have had your business for a few years. Some of you have had your business for a few years and you haven't actually started. Let's be totally honest. I was definitely in that camp. I was a facilitator for about 10 years before I went, right, let's do this. Let's go, giddy up. And if my energy is in something, it grows. If my energy is not in it, it doesn't grow. But it's still always tempered by whatever my point of view is. So whatever point of view you have about a particular class or creation, about how big it can get, about, oh, well, Dane is also in the region, so my class can't grow, or what have you. I've got a business on different class starting tomorrow in Mexico City. Now, Dane was in Mexico City last weekend. Some people told me I was crazy for doing a class the week after Dane in the same region, because people would do either or and they would choose his above my class. My class currently here in Mexico City has about 50, 60 people registered. Not all live, but it's still, that's a big class. Why? Because I didn't buy anyone's point of view about what that class could be or how it could grow. So, truth. What is your point of view and what points of view you're functioning from about your business? Everything that is times a godzillion, let's destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. The other tool I want to give you after that, because your point of view, massive, right? All the presumptive realities and all the points of views that you have. The other thing that you've really got to use if you want to grow and expand and upscale your business is the elemental of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the biggest gifts there is. In the face of gratitude, judgment cannot exist. Notice how everything I'm talking about so far, this is not new information. This is things we've talked about for years in classes. but if you apply this, I guarantee you it works. Gratitude as an elemental erases judgment. It also takes away anxiety. Anxiety occurs when you are trying to prevent a disaster, or you are unsure about a future, or you assume that something bad and negative is about to occur. But if you stop, and instead of looking at what's not working, what the inevitable terrible future is, and instead look at the gratitude you can have for what's possible, what is occurring that's amazing, what is growing, so much can happen. Now, I'll give you an example of how this has worked recently in my business. I had huge success with classes during COVID online. I know I'm not alone. A lot of you also had all this growth occur with your online classes. And these would range from 1 hour clarity calls to 1 day calls over 2 days, all on special topics. And a lot of people were signing up for them. Guess what? At the moment, I'm not having that kind of success with my online calls. And for a moment, I went, fuck, I'm wrong. What am I not doing? What have I changed? Is my energy not in this? Is that why it's not growing? Notice how none of that is gratitude. And it sounds like a question, but it's actually not. They're all presumptive realities with a question mark attached on the end. Now, how this gratitude piece works is I then had a look at the rest of my business and I went, wait a minute, all my live classes are growing dynamically. The classes that I have coming up with Right Voice, with the Joy of Business, they're all growing really well. So instead of looking at the classes that weren't growing and weren't working, I took a minute and went, hey, wait a minute. If I wasn't wrong and my business wasn't wrong, what is working? Oh, that. And by acknowledging that and having gratitude for it, everything started growing even more dynamically. So there's your second tip and tool, gratitude. Now, the other tip and tool, I'm going to give you a number here, and I'm just going to rifle at you before I start looking at some of your questions here, is, again, no big news to you, but you've got to make yourself useless. Gary has talked about this forever. I functioned from the point of view for a while that my business grew based on how much effort I put in, what I did. And I've realized that's not the case. Your business grows and expands based on your awareness. How large of a scope of awareness are you willing to have? Doesn't mean doing nothing. But if you have a group of people, whether you call it a dazzle or a gaggle or a koi, whatever, if you have a group of people contributing, you're aware of them, you contribute to them and empower them to build a role within your business that fulfills them personally and allows them to actualize their talents and capacities. And you end up having to do less and less. With one of the businesses that I have, the Antique Guild, I could talk about that business with this topic of expansion for hours. I have so many friends with similar businesses, like they've got salons or they've got cafes. They're the kind of businesses where they think if you're not there 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, the business won't succeed. You've got to be the front man for the business. Now, I bring this up because a lot of you feel that way about your facilitation business as well. You think you've got to be the front man of your business constantly. And if you're not there doing a live every day, doing a Zoom meeting, doing something every day constantly, that things aren't going to grow. Not the case. Now, this goes back to the first tool I gave you, but so many of you think that if you're not doing constantly, your business won't grow. Stop it. What if all you had to do to expand your business was be present with it and aware of it? Right now, Connect to all of your different businesses. Imagine all of them like a constellation of stars in the sky in front of you. Flood your energy into each one and in between the molecules of each one so that you are a part of it. And check in with each one energetically and ask it, what do you require? What energy do you actually require of me right now? And not necessarily of you, but because sometimes it's about adding someone or something else. But what does that business require, or those businesses, to allow them to flourish and grow? Now, the other part there is, would you allow yourselves to receive from your businesses? Instead of it all being this linear equation of, I do this and this occurs and I get this result. Can we now all please erase that linear equation of effort equals result and instead open the doors to the reality of gifting and receiving? And everywhere we've made that a linearity, and all the conclusions we've come to, all the presumptive realities about what the simultaneity of gifting and receiving looks like, can we destroy and create all of those? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Okay, so I'm going to go to some questions here. We've got Carleta Tiba has asked, can you speak more about the people in your team, quote unquote? How do you work with them? The number required to grow the business. How do you pay them? Thank you. Okay, cool. So that's a few questions. There's no right or wrong answer here. A koi or a team, whatever you want to call it, could be 2 people. It could be 3, it could be 5, it could be 12. Some of you don't have anyone yet right now in your business. And I want to give you guys a little tip, first of all, on that, because some of you have asked me before, how do you find those people? Look for your super fans. Look for the people that automatically already gravitate to you and see what you're creating and what you have to offer and are willing to contribute to you. For years and years, I worked with Ina Basur from India. This occurred so organically that she ended up joining my coven. I have a coven, not a koi, group of witches that stand around a cauldron and throw things into the pot until it bubbles up. Whoa. Sorry, my Zoom's doing strange things. It says I'm signing in on another device and trying to kick me off. That's probably part of my coven, trying to get on. Now, Ina Basur is who I was talking about. She was coming to my classes and of her own volition was making memes of things I'd said in a class and throwing them out there on social media. She was doing more to promote what I was doing than anybody else. And I eventually said to her, hey, do you want a job? And that's how that started and got created until a time came where it didn't necessarily work anymore. And we moved on. So how do you work with them is the second part of Carlita's question. I work with them by asking them questions. One of the things that I do with all of the people I work with, whether it's the antique business or my facilitation business, is I will regularly have conversations with them. And every 6 months or so, I have a catch up with them and I say, hey, describe to me your average day. I often will say this and say, you know, I don't necessarily, I definitely don't micromanage what you do. And your role is evolving all the time. So I'm curious to know, what do you see your job as? And find out, what are the things that they're covering? What are the things that they're handling? So that again, you get more of that awareness that I'm talking about. It's not to make them wrong. It's not to like monitor their productivity and find out if they're working hard enough. Fuck that. That's all bullshit. That's this reality. Some people contribute and they actually don't do anything. Recognize that and ask for yourself with each person, what does this person contribute? Does this person contribute? And find out. There is no number required to grow the business. what I often looking at is, okay, if this is my business today, okay, they're still trying to get into my Zoom account. Hang on. I'm going to tell them off. This is me being a mean boss. Watch. Hey, can you guys stop trying to get into the Zoom account? I'm on a Zoom. So that's me being a mean boss. So ask, what does each person contribute? But the next thing I was going to talk about was, if your business is at where it's at today, ask yourself, where would you like it to go? And where would it like to go? And then look for who or what you could add to the business to allow that to occur. Like, one of the things for my business that I would love to add next is, I have started recording a podcast. I've got a series of the podcast recorded. I want that to be its own project and have its own life and move in its own direction. So who or what do I add to make that occur? So that the social media is there, so that the dissemination of it is there, so that the editing of it is there and it gets put into all of the different channels for broadcast. Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I do. I look at each project that I want to add or each possibility and go, so who or what do I add to actualize this? It's not about, I need a social media person and I need an accounts person and I need a mover and I need a connector and I need a fluffer. It's more about, what does each project require so that it has legs? And how do you pay them? Ask your staff. With each person that comes to work with me, I ask them, what would work for you? Do you want a retainer? Do you want a percentage of the classes and what's created? Knowing full well, for me personally, what works, so that I'm comfortable paying them and it allows the business to grow. Some people, if you overpay them, they won't create because they're not comfortable with what they're receiving. Some people, it's the opposite. So you have to check in with each person. There's no hard and fast rule. Is this helping you guys? Is this making sense? Cool. What else? What else and who else? No one has any other questions?
I'll ask you a question.
Okay, good. I'll have some more yogurt while you ask.
So when you talked about going from online to more live classes, right? How do you, how have you grown and adjusted for planning like bigger and bigger live classes, allowing them to continue to grow, knowing that they require different things than an online class? You know, you're going to need more space or more tables or working with local hosts. Can you talk a bit about that change? I think a lot of people had, myself included, like online a lot.
Yeah.
And just change. Yeah. Well, kind of like, yeah, the fun particular stuff that you're great with.
The thing with the biggest change I've noticed from moving to more online classes to live is, live classes tend to require further planning further out. When we were doing just online during COVID, you could put something on in a week if you made enough noise about it so people knew it was happening. Because there was no tables, there was no venue, there was no accommodation, there was no flights, there was no manuals, there was no snacks, nothing. Just, here's a Zoom link, here's some translators, let's go. And that is no longer the reality. What I found really interesting with the live classes is, more of a host element seems to be required rather than just your team or Coven or Koi putting it together. And finding those hosts that are really enthusiastic about what you're creating has made a huge difference. Like, I've got my classes now scheduled out the next 4 to 6 months, and I'll notice the hosts that are really present with the class and are really helping it grow. And then the ones where there's sort of no pulse here. It's meant that there's a really different kind of scheduling required than there used to be. And you need to actually start looking at your business further in the future with these live classes than the online ones only. So have a look at that for you. It's very difficult for me to have an all-in meeting with my entire coven because of time zones. So I've splintered it for my business into 3 meetings. I have a meeting with the people who we do more scheduling with and more like class creation. I would swear there's someone upstairs in my apartment. Very weird. Then I have a meeting with people that do more of the back end side of things, the docs, the emails, the registrations, the payments, the coordinating translation. There is someone here. They must be cleaning.
You want to go check?
No, it's fine. I'm not worried. And then I have another meeting that is all about social media and the promotion element of things and that side of it. So I split them into 3. And with each of those meetings, though, in each of those groups, we're always having a look at the calendar and what's coming in the next 4 months. So we know what's required logistically, what's required promotionally, and what else is next in terms of scheduling and promotion. So allow yourself to look further in the future, I think would be the biggest piece of advice I could give you there. And if things are changing, don't make it wrong. If one thing that used to work is not working, what if you weren't wrong and it was just a change? There are massive things changing in the world economy. A lot of countries are freaking out about going into recession. And there was a false sense of security during COVID because there was a lot of money rolling around and people were spending on things like classes instead of going places, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't mean there's less money available and less clients who could come to your classes, but you're going to have to change your focus to where am I being asked for and where are the dandelion seeds landing that I can go next that will actually create a result. The other thing I ask for, another tip and tool I'd love to give you guys is I ask for every class to be a big class. Not necessarily with the number of people, but a big class for what's facilitated and what difference is created. Does that help, Emily?
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Poonam has her hand up.
I have 2 questions here. I also have found that a lot of people came during COVID for online classes, and people still are not coming for classes post-COVID, yes. But the difference that I find here for me is that a lot of people are choosing to come in for live classes who have no idea of what Access is, which is really beautiful. My question is how to introduce and invite more people to come in who haven't heard about Access. And I've been in this space for quite a while now.
Great. Stay in that space. That's a great, to me, one of the things I noticed happened a lot during COVID was a lot of people were fishing from the same pond. And
Yes.
Access grew with some new people finding it during COVID, but a lot of people built a business on Access Island.
Exactly.
And they created their classes preaching to the choir, rather than going, how do we reach a totally new audience? How do we get these tools and these possibilities to people who've never heard of Access before? And that's my target with my business. And I would love for all of us as facilitators to be looking at that. Instead of calling ourselves as a success as a facilitator because we're getting numbers in classes, but it's the same people over and over again. What if we could invite a whole new group of people? Since January, at the 6 day in South Africa, where we had the PRs really start to be talked about, and the NORs and the NOR slime since then, my sense is there's going to be a huge number of people leaving. And the awareness I have had for the last few days is I think Access is about to grow 30 to 40% with the change that's occurring. And it's going to be people that have never heard of us before, have never heard of Access, and are looking for something. So what if our job was to be there, be available to the people who are looking for it?
Do you have any suggestions on how to do this? Because
No, stop
I
it.
became
Stop
yes,
it. Stop it. Stop looking for the suggestions of how to do it. I just said to you, be that question. You're asking the question. You're not going to get a solid answer.
Thank you for this.
You're looking for the definition and the answer to that question, rather than asking the question and being with it and sitting in that discomfort of, I don't know, let's go.
Yes, thank you for this.
You're welcome.
And my second question to you was, being the invitation to kids coming in, this is phenomenal. I find that post-COVID, a lot of teenagers showing up for bars classes, which is an acknowledgement here, not a question here.
Awesome.
So now my second question to you is, I was watching this. You had something on your website, which I downloaded yesterday. And there was a question which I have been repeating. It was, what is my agenda with my business? Which is something which popped up in my universe. Do I have an agenda with my business, or am I just doing it for the sake of doing it, or for the sake of contributing? And that is where I have probably been blocking my money flow.
Okay. Notice how that also is not a question.
Yes, it's a conclusion.
Yeah. It's a conclusion. And asking yourself what your agenda is with your business is another great tool, similar to asking yourself what your point of view about your business is, or what's your point of view of you in relation to your business. Those questions are designed to give you more awareness so that you have more choice. It's not about necessarily coming to a conclusion or finding the answer so you can go on the witch hunt and fix the problem. You don't have any problems. There's nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with your business. And there's more to choose. So what would you like to choose?
I have actually been getting into my wrongness since I heard that call, because I was getting into that space, is what is wrong with me, because I don't have an agenda which I can see in my business.
Cool. You don't have to see it. You do not have to find what your point of view is to fix it. You can ask for it and clear it and go on the adventure of allowing your universe to change and expand.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, go on the adventure of allowing things to change and expand, rather than trying to identify the problem so that you can fix it, so that you can allow your business to grow.
I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Someone else had their hand up earlier and I've lost it. Oh, it was Poonam, so we got that. Then we have Lulu, who says, I've been a facilitator since September, but didn't create any class yet. A newbie question, how can I have ease with creating and actualizing classes? You got to start. You got to start and be grateful for whatever shows up. We in Access love to start and expect to have a 6- and 7-figure business overnight, because ask and you shall receive, right? Start and be grateful for whatever shows up. One of the things I am most proud of, most grateful for in my life is that even when there are situations that are quote unquote kind of shitty, I look at the gift they are. I look at the awareness they facilitated rather than the problem that they were. So how exciting that you've been a facilitator since September. What would you like to create? What did you become a facilitator for? What can you speak to? Hello?
I wanted to create miracles. This is what I wanted to do.
Cool. You
Yeah.
wanted to create miracles. Go for it.
Will do.
That can look a million different ways. And the thing too with creating miracles, and by facilitating, we do create miracles in people's lives all the time. Please know, Lulu, that you're going to create miracles in these people's lives, and the fuckers are never going to tell you about it.
Well, that's okay. For me, that's okay. I just want to start
Good.
because every time I say, okay, let's go, there's this heaviness. And then it's like I step on the brakes all of a sudden.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How does it get any better than that?
Yeah, how does it? How does it?
So notice how there's a little bit of wrongness in your world for stepping on the brakes.
Yes, there is. I go into the wrongness of me.
Yay!
Always. I don't fuck that. Yes.
Well, you can continue to go into the wrongness of you forever, and that's not wrong. Or you can choose something different. What would you like?
I'd like to choose something different. Definitely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
Andrea Beluso is asking, could you talk about scaling and growing your specialty classes? Really, it doesn't matter if it's a specialty class or a bars class or a foundation. The principles are all the same. Look at what you're creating now, be grateful for it, and ask, how does it get any better than this? What I do too for my business in general is I look at how much am I creating financially? How much am I creating change and possibility wise? You have to include money in whatever you're creating because this is a business. And if you would like to receive more money, it's something you're going to have to look at. Now, if you know what you're actually creating, it's a lot easier to ask for more. There's a lot of you have probably set a financial target for yourself that is too low because you're actually already creating that. So please, everything you're doing to avoid the world of finance and money with your business as a facilitator, can we destroy and uncreate all of that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Andrea, you've got your hand up, and yours was the question I was answering, so we'll go to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Sorry, I'm a little bit dark here. I'm in the car. Lovely to see you. Yeah, thank you for that one. I get it that it's the same thing for specialty class and everything. But the real question that I have is, I get that a lot of people don't really get what my specialty class is about because it's undefinable. And it was growing already from the start. And I got a lot of people contributing to the class in form of a team that somehow I got were just there to get the class for free and ride on the wave or whatever. And could that be something that stopped the business growing as I see it? Because I see every class, regardless how many participants I have, it is a great class and it is a great contribution. So I see where it's going.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all the presumptive realities and the Nors and Nor slimes you have about your specialty, can we destroy and uncreate all those?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads and beyonds. It's really easy to get stuck in this trap of deciding, oh, it's difficult for people to get what my class is.
Right.
The people will show up that are looking for the tools. This is a way that consciousness has your back. But if you've decided that there's this hurdle that people have to get over of knowing what it is, then that hurdle will be there.
Wow. Great. Thank you. So I'm creating the hurdle, which is not actually there.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking brilliant, Mark.
So everywhere we've all decided that access bars, that energy work is a hurdle in itself that we've got to get over for people to choose this. Can we destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads and beyonds. Now, Andrea, the other thing you talked about was hosts that just want to take your class. I've done this a lot as well. People say, I really want your class. They want it. Doesn't mean they're going to actually build the class for you and create something large.
Yeah.
You have to ask with each person. Just because they're putting their hand up to host you doesn't mean they're capable or interested in building a class for you.
Oh God, thank you so much for that. Because that was so clear. I mean, what you're saying is exactly what happened. And that's what it was. Yeah.
And at the stage and development of your business, maybe those classes actually contributed to the future growth anyway. What if even those that you did weren't wrong?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm grateful for that as well. Yes.
Yeah. So now ask for the people to show up that will contribute to the growth of the business.
Yeah.
Here's a tip for all of you out there. You won't necessarily like these people. Some of the people that grow the best classes and get the most people to attend are annoying. Great connectors quite often are really irritating because they push and pull so much energy. Now, if someone comes along and they irritate you, have a look at that. What is it that you're resisting about this person? And could they actually contribute to the growth of your business?
You're fucking amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hope to see you soon somewhere in the beautiful world, Chris.
You too, my friend.
Bye. I adore you. Bye-bye.
I adore you too. Hey, how long is this supposed to go? Am I
It
just
can be
talking?
up to an hour. You're good.
Okay, easy. We're good because there's a few more questions and I just wasn't sure. There was, okay. Can you talk about going to a completely new country and cities and creating there? Yeah, Kushbu, great question. Again, as you sort of, the more you're out there and exposed to different people, they're going to reach for you. And with each person that reaches for you, ask, what will this create? Will this contribute to the future I would like to have? Because as we pointed out in the conversation with Andrea, some people want the class. They're not actually interested in contributing to its growth. So with each person that invites you, you've got to follow the energy. What will this create? And you'll end up going to the most random places that make no sense. And so what? That's the adventure of living, isn't it? What if you don't have a host yet? Awesome. I quite often, when I get to this spot, especially following on from the conversation with Emily, now that we're forecasting a little further in the future with more live classes, I quite often will get out the world map and go, where and see what pings. It has to work for you as well, though. There are countries that I don't particularly like going to, that I find really difficult. And then there's ones that I like for certain reasons. Like I love coming to Mexico City, where I am right now. There's something here for me in my body that is different. And when I come here to do a class, the class grows because it works for me as well. I'm included in the equation. Have a look at where the energy is asking for you, include you in the equation, and ask, what will this create? Ava's going to Greenland. Fucking love that. Why not? What's going on in Greenland? You won't know until you go. Choice creates awareness. Be willing with your business to go and fuck up. Go and have things fail. That will create more awareness for you than anything else. And when things do fail, quote unquote, look at the awareness they created. Look at the possibilities for your future each one of those choices created, and stop judging the success you're having based on the money you made. Great Joy of Business tool. Get clear on how much your life costs to run. And get clear how much revenue is going to be required for you to have that life, both for you and for your business. And include your 10% and another 10% for the joy of taxes. Everything I'm telling you guys is not new information. This is stuff we've heard, we know. And if we use it, it works. So, what else and what next? Can you talk about Norse slimes, please? Norse slimes are a little on the new side, and I'm not 100% clear on them. I know that there's like, no, I'm not going to talk about them. How to invite more people to classes. That's what we've been talking about this entire time. And notice with a question like that, instead of asking how to invite more people to classes, what if we started asking questions like, what energy can I be that would invite more people to choose consciousness? Rather than looking for the doing and the method and the linear steps to get more revenue and more customers. If you would like more customers, get busy with creation. If you know how much money you would like to make and you get busy with creation, the money shows up, the customers show up, but it's never the way you expect it. What do I have to be for people to want to contribute to my business? What am I willing to be as a host? I cannot imagine someone would want to do that for me. Well, there's a few presumptive realities there, my dear Abir. If you've decided that you cannot imagine someone wanting to contribute to you the way you contribute to them, I have a feeling most of your relationships, including the sexual ones, are not a lot of fun. It's all about you giving and you contributing and you doing and never getting to receive. Would you actually be willing to receive people contributing to you and your business? And if not, why the fuck not? Why don't you deserve that? Why do you and we as humanoids always have to be the ones contributing to everyone, making everyone else's lives greater and putting us last? Include you in everything you create. Now, that doesn't mean being the self-interested asshole who makes them greater, who puts them first, because I'm choosing me. Include you. That's that kingdom of we that we've been talking about, where you're included and so is everyone else. That's where engagement lives as well, where you're willing to be present, be aware, and have you out in the world, in everyone's lives, and you let them in also, in equal measure. Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, can we destroy and create all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Thank you. You hit the nail on the head. Well, that's why I wore my overalls, because I'm a carpenter today. Niyati. I miss Niyati. She's wonderful. I have very recently come to the awareness that I have the insane point of view that I am a fraud that keeps me from creating the classes I would like to facilitate. What can I be and do to change that? If you've already come to the awareness that that's your insane point of view, all you have to do is change it. It's just that easy. You got a new 10 seconds. Now, what are you going to choose? All the points of view that you've come to, that you're a fraud, that everyone else can do what you're doing, that there's no value to what you're offering. Can we please destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. What if you were 10 seconds away from having the easiest life you've ever allowed yourself? Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Now, no, never mind. What else? There's a cool space available. That's awesome. Love you too, Niyati.
Any more questions for Chris?
Was I supposed to talk about right voice?
No, but you certainly can. If you want to.
I just addressed the energy that was. So for those of you who are interested, we do have the facilitator training for Right Voice coming up next month in Rome. As CFs, you have most of the prereqs to choose it. Right Voice is such a different specialty. It's really is all about engagement and creation and having more of you out in the world so people can actually engage with what you're creating and choose it. The class that you all would have done as a prereq to being a CF, the Hustler's Guide to Sales and Marketing, was packed with Right Voice for You tools. And it's so inspiring for me to see all the different facilitators use them in different ways, whether it's around getting over shyness, whether it's around writing or speaking or engaging or being those 5 elements of intimacy. This really is a specialty that covers so much. For a long time, it was sort of seen as about performing and being on stage. And while we do use a lot of exercises in that world, it is so much broader than that. When Gary started it, it was called expanding the creative base of your life. And that's how I see it. I see it about taking off the facade that we wear to try and sell people an image and showing up just as us. I don't want to blow my own horn, but the thing that so many people respond to with me and makes them choose my classes is they can tell that I actually like who I am. And I'm not trying to be somebody else. And I do things my way. There's a trap that so many facilitators fall into when they come to Access, and they think they've got to put on a uniform and pretend they're perfect and show up in the world a certain way. Like, have you ever noticed that people come along and they start dressing like Dane, or they start speaking a certain way and stop being them? And for me, that's what Right Voice is all about. It's about showing up in the world as you and inviting people into your world and your universe and creating. So for us as facilitators, for anyone who would like to choose it, You just have to be a CF and have done 2 Right Voice 3-day classes, preferably with different facilitators, and come along to the training. It's in Rome just before the CF training. So if you're going to be there, I just want you guys to know that it's available and it's a possibility for you to choose. And that is my
Actually,
3-minute advertisement.
and Megan had said, can you talk about the energy that shows up, inviting people to be seen and heard with a live class?
Yeah. So it is only live. There's no online option available for this. And as facilitators out in the world as well, there's a level of intimacy that's available in live where you can't hide behind sitting in front of a camera on a Zoom with your pants off. And you actually have to be there with people. Like, we do these exercises where we get people on stage to speak or sing or do things because it requires vulnerability. It requires you stepping out of your comfort zone and being seen. It's sort of like you as facilitators getting out there in the world and going, hey, this is me and this is what I have to offer and this is what I do. This is access. And how comfortable are you being that uncomfortable? Sharing you and what you do with the world. Dan says, does it matter when the 2 3-day Right Voice for You classes were dated? Gosh, I forget. I think one needs to be within a year. Is that true? I don't know.
I don't know either, but you can look at the class posting and you can always write the CF gaggle and we'll let
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Hey, Sarah Cohen, you had your hand up a while ago and I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yes, you did.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Awesome.
And there's one question, if we have to explain it to someone, what's the difference between being you and Right Voice?
Do you know what? I see those 2 specialties as having a lot of synergy, but they are quite different. What we do in Right Voice is highly interactive. It's as a class, we don't actually have many massage beds because it is so interactive. We take some of the basic tools of access like energy flows and the 5 elements of intimacy, and we put them into action through exercises. So you're not just sitting in the conference room going, Not that I'm saying that's what you do in being you, but we give you exercises to do during the class and during lunch where you're actually out engaging with the world, putting yourself in their world and imposing you on the world around you so that you become this charismatic, irresistible voice that lets people know there's another possibility. I see Right Voice facilitators as the megaphone of consciousness. Not that we're all necessarily connectors who do that promotional arm of things, but we let the world know without fear, without shame, that there's another possibility. Just that.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much. This has been phenomenal.
Thank you guys. I love you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye,
translators.
Chris. Thank you. Bye.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Adore you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.